The immune system is a complex network of cells and proteins that defend the body against infection. It also keeps a record of every microbe or germ it has ever defeated so that if it encounters it again, it will recognize it and defeat it again much more quickly. And this is called immunity. Hi, I'm Mary Bourne, traditional naturopath, and I love sharing natural remedies with people for better health. Natural remedies have been used by people for centuries, even thousands of years, and they've stayed with us because they work. So thank you for stopping by and watching this video. I think you will find it very interesting. The purpose of these particular videos in home health care procedures and solutions are to help you understand how the body works and how you can help it heal faster. There has been a lot of misleading information. We are not being told the whole story. The side of the story where you can protect and support your immune system has not been shared. There's been a lot of fear, a lot of mistrust, a lot of bantering back and forth, but nothing about how you can support your immune system. The only thing we've been told to do is wash our hands and wear masks and stay away from people and sequester ourselves in our homes. And a lot of this is counterintuitive. So our understanding of how the immune system works has been hijacked by the news media. We think that we are defenseless human beings that must be hidden away and protected from this big bad boogeyman called the COVID-19. So I want to share with you the truth about immunity and how your body actually works. Much of this is taken from 8th grade biology. So it isn't something that is off the wall. It is truth and how your immune system functions, the things that support it and the things that can help to bring it down. So when you understand how the immune system works, you can make better choices. You can determine what's right for you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm only here to share with you the basic understanding of how the immune system works. And this is not being shared by other people. So in the beginning, that's where we want to start, is called passive immunity. And passive immunity is the transfer of antibody produced by one human or other animal to another. So it's passed human to human, animal to animal, and sometimes animal to human. So the most common form of passive immunity is that which an infant receives from its mother. Antibodies are transported across the placenta during the last 1 to 2 months of pregnancy. So if the baby is born early, a lot of that information is not going to be there to support that baby in understanding how the immune system should fight what it should fight. So as a result, a full-term infant will have the same antibodies as its mother. And of course, it stands to reason that if the mother's immune system is poor, that information will not be there as well. So these antibodies will protect the infant from certain diseases for up to a year, longer if the infant is nursed for a longer period of time. Now that's under normal circumstances. Unfortunately, there's a lot of factors that go into how this protection is compromised. So in other words, if a child is born cesarean, the information that goes, now it's got the placental information, but further information goes through the vaginal wall and the baby is consumed in this mucus that has all kinds of information for that baby to decide what's good, what's bad, what's self, non-self. And so when you go through cesarean, the baby does not get that information. It is lifted out into a sterile environment and In fact, we'll get some information from microbes that are in the air. Now, you can't totally sterilize a room. The hospital will have often antibiotic resistant microbes that float through the air. In fact, the hospital is the biggest concern for MRSA and SARS and things that are antibiotic resistant. So if you move my, whoops, it's not where I want to go. See if I can get me again. There we go. So that you can just see the rest of this. So children born cesarean will have a higher risk of chronic immune disorders. We know that it disrupts gut permeability. And we'll go further into this and vaccines in part 2, which will be next Tuesday. And the link that you used to get on this video will be the same link. If you lose that link, you can email me and I will send you another email with the proper link to attend all the Tuesday classes in May, which are all about the immune system. So how does the immune system get trained after that particular time? Well, a baby's movement across floors, especially carpets, kick up high levels of debris. They inhale a dose that is 4 times what an adult would breathe when walking across this same surface. However, as alarming as that sounds, this isn't necessarily a bad thing because your body is constantly getting information and your immune system has to decide whether it should ramp up a defense mechanism or whether it should just let it go. It will be okay. There are many, many checkpoints along the way, and that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. So experts say exposure to dirt and allergens boost children's immune systems. If you have an animal, a pet that's living in the home and hair and dander lay on the carpet and a child is crawling across that carpet and picks up, their response is always hand to mouth type of thing. And that's a lot of how they learn is through this learning through their mouth and educating the body how things are working. And they do it through all of their senses, through breath, breathing in through the nose, through their eyes, what they hear, what they smell. And all of this is telling the body different mechanisms of protection. Now, adults train their immune system response as well. And so the shake of a hand, kissing, and other intimacies help our immune response know the difference between that which is harmful and that which isn't. And a lot of times we want to take that into consideration as to what's happening right now. So if we are sequestered and if we have to wear masks in public and if we are to stay away from other people by 6 feet and if we are to sterilize our counters, where is the information the immune system is getting? Everybody knows that if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, that's the same thing with the immune system. If we do not do this educational contact information to the immune system, we're going to lose it. And when they talk about this COVID, the second wave, so to speak, let's just think logically for just a few minutes. As we are sequestered in our homes and we're getting more and more anxious and we are stressed to the max, we can't see our grandkids, we can't see our children, we can't communicate with other people. You can't even see a smile from another person's face because it's hidden by this mask. You can't shake hands and you can't breathe on anybody. You can't kiss anybody. You can't. what is happening with the immune system but being lowered. Now you add to it the stress of having no job, of being stuck in a household where they're showing escalating numbers of abuse and alcoholism. And of course, we're not eating the right foods because we need this comfort stuff because we're so depressed. Now we're going to, and then let's add to that the fact that they're furloughing doctors because there's no work. The hospitals are empty practically. There's 10 beds for a 1,000-unit hospital that are being used. It's just a recipe for disaster. And so as we come out of this experience, what they're recommending is to continue to wear masks and stay 6 feet away from other people because they know they've depressed the immune system so much. So let's talk just a minute about a mask. When you cover your nose and your mouth, you are not breathing oxygen anymore. You're breathing more carbon dioxide than you are oxygen. And oxygen deprivation can affect the way you think. It can affect many aspects. The number one thing we need as human beings is oxygen. Without it, we can last possibly 6 minutes. Now, we can go without water for probably 24 hours. We can fast for 40 days. But air, stop breathing for 5 minutes and see what happens. It's not a healthy thing that we are being told to do by those who have no clue on how the immune system works. So the epidemiologists, the virologists, all of these agree this is a disaster waiting to happen, that we have handled this so very poorly. By April 1st, we knew that this was not affecting children under the age of 15. And yet, they continued to keep children at home. It made no sense. They wanted respirators, and we know that only 5% of people come out of respiratory use. So these ventilators that they're putting people on is a kill switch. It's not helpful. What they need is oxygen tents, or putting people on oxygen and getting oxygen to them, putting them with the nose clips and adding oxygen, opening up the channels, giving them vitamin C, vitamin D. These are known factors that will protect us. So when our emotions are stressed out, our immune system is depressed, and we need to be able to say, that's okay. And one of the things I love that I use all the time is called the stress remedy. And it is a flower essence remedy that says, everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. And it helps you to think better. So whenever possible, do not wear your mask. If you must wear it because the police are watching or whatever, then put it on. If you go into a grocery store, yes, put it on now that the ruling is there. But when you get in your car, get it off. Take it off and do not put it on unless you have to. If you're out in the fresh air, please breathe in the fresh air. So let's talk about our, let me get back to that to drag me over here. So let's talk about the immune perimeters of defense. The protective surfaces acts like a physical wall or barrier to prevent entry. The innate immunity acts like the Border Patrol agents who can also call for backup. And then the adaptive immunity acts like internal enforcement that put out descriptions of wanted subjects to seek them out. So here is the protective surfaces. Okay, that's when somebody calls 911 and 911 alerts the police, and the police act like the Border Patrol. They get there, this small unit, and they observe what's happening, and then they call for backup. And so this is the same process. So the first line of defense is involves the skin and the mucous membranes, and the microbes pass these barriers when damage occurs. So let's look at this here. I'm going to do a pointer. Hang on just a second. All right. So here, can you see my pointer, is a microbe, and it's going to enter this blue area, which is called the skin. Now the skin protects, but if something pierces, then another immune response takes over. So that's the way the immune response works. It's layer upon layer, and it protects us. So when you want to make sure that you're washing your hands and you're getting rid of dirt, or you're getting rid of things that can harm the skin itself. What happens though if you are, whoops, let's go to cilia. I want to back up here for a minute. If you can see these little hair-like projections, that's the cilia. And so we'll go on to the next slide. So cilia are tiny hair-like cells that your body uses to deny the enemy access to your body. So it's a one-way system, and it's saying, go this way, and it actually brings the microbe into where the immune system can attack it and either chew it up or get rid of it, chemically expose it to something. But the goal is exit or extinction. And then they raise above the cells and keep harmful microbes from entering the bloodstream, because once it enters the bloodstream, then you can see that it can actually get into from the bronchioles into the lungs, and then it's harder to get rid of. So let's talk about when the system is breached. So this is when you've cut yourself, you've passed by the first barrier of the skin. And should the enemy breach the perimeter, a second line of defense is necessary. And this is called phagocyte. That's there, you can see it. So this is a phagocyte, and what occurs with the phagocyte is called phagocytosis, and you can see the hair-like projections on the screen there as the bacterium tries to enter into the cell. And when it does enter into the cell, the immune system will attack it with several different defense mechanisms. So the first mechanism is an inflammatory response. Oftentimes, if you injure yourself, you will see that your injury feels hot. It feels warm, and that's because your immune system is trying to cook the microbe. And we know that when a certain temperature rises, that's an immune response. And we are told that if you have a fever of over 102, that you want to go to the hospital, because this is one of the indications. Scratchy throat and a fever is one of the indications of a virus. And so it is also your immune system is working. So at this point, if you gave your body some healthy nutrition, some bone broth soup, some vitamin C, some vitamin D, extra nutrition, leafy green vegetables, which will bring you the vitamin A that supports your immune system. But you do not want to take an anti-inflammatory or something like an NSAID, which would bring down the fever, because then you're making the immune system work even harder. So that part of the immune system has been deleted, and now the white blood cells have to do even more work. So they come in and they come in with different types of chemicals. They create an acid environment to again further burn out the microbe. They will surround it to sort of like put a taser on it and stun it for a little bit so other immune defenders can come in. The intermediate, the part where both the innate and the other immune responses can come in and get rid of that virus, bacteria. We live in a swamp of these just fine without any problems. In fact, they key in what to do when this particular novel virus comes in, something the body's not used to, in how to attack that. There are key indicators when your immune system is up and ready to go. So histamine is another response of the immune system, and it is released by damaged tissue, sort of like, help, I'm injured here. And what it does is it will calm, and it helps to bring in other immune cells. And oftentimes at this point, what will happen is that it doesn't know enough to shut off. The mast cells keep producing histamine, and all of a sudden you've got this huge histamine response, which when people are allergic, what they'll do, they take antihistamines. So if you're on an antihistamine, this part of the immune system is not going to be as productive. There are natural antihistamines. Bromelain is one of them that is really good. That comes from pineapple. So once at site, more messages are sent to the immune response team for further helpers. So this is when the first line of police get there and they say, well, this is way too much. And so they call for backup. So I liken what we call the microbiome is all of the microbes that exist symbiotically in our body to support health. And so it's sort of like the plant and the soil and us and our microbiome. So the microbiome is to us like the dirt is to a plant. And if the nutrients aren't available, then the roots can't take it up and the nutrition can't get to the plant. So if the soil is healthy and full of nutrients, the plant will have a much better chance of resisting disease. And if our gut is healthy, we too will be able to resist disease better. Now, compromised gut is huge in the US. We know that there are people that are allergic to wheat. Whether you believe it has to do with the spraying of chemicals on our plants and the genetically modifying of these plants that interfered with our natural microbiotic relationship, it doesn't matter. You can look into that. There's a wonderful tons of research papers that you can look into as far as genetically modifying. But we also know that this chemical glyphosate, and there is a lot of research done by Dr. Seneff, who has related that to autism, to all kinds of neurological conditions. So we need to make sure that we have good gut flora, that we take probiotics to support our immune system. So let's talk about excessive washing, because when we wash like Fauci says, you wash 20 times a day. You are removing the natural protection that our skin has to as our first line of defense. So we do not want to wash, especially with antibiotic soaps or anything that may strip this uh, from our skin. Yeah, you want to wash after using the toilet, and I mean, appropriate behavior. But this is excessive washing of hands is not doing us any favor. It's harmful for the skin, and now the skin can't determine what's self and what's not self. And this is a huge protection that we're losing out on because we've gotten the wrong information. This constant washing of hands is not healthy. We need to have the good um, proper pH on our hands, and we need to be engaging with other people. We need to be collecting information and wearing gloves and washing our hands like we are. We're not getting that information. The immune system is getting depressed because of that. So the first line of defense is the skin and the mucous membranes. The skin has a pH of 5.5, and this keeps it healthy. Mucus can range between 5.4 when fighting off infection. It's you've experienced this. You've got a cold coming on and you've got this very liquidy mucus, and it often will irritate the skin under the nose. Your nose will get all red, and that's because the mucus is at 5.5, which is more acid than the skin normally is. Then it can go all the way to 8.2, which is extremely alkaline. And that is when it's very congested. So when the mucus is thin, we're protecting, we're fighting off infection. And when the mucus is thick, it's congested. So water is necessary for healthy mucus and movement, because the lymphatic system needs you to move. It needs movement, walks, it needs running, it needs jumping, it needs movement, because there's no pump for the lymphatic system, and it's movement that creates that circulation. Then when the congested mucus goes into the lymph nodes, it detoxifies, separates the healthy mucus and recycles it, and then it takes the microbes and acts on those. And a lot of people through different surgical procedures have had lymph nodes removed, and so you have to make sure that you are paying particular attention to the mucous membranes and keeping them healthy. So now let's talk about the let me get rid of this for a minute, the microbiome, because the microbiome is the genetic material of all the microbes, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and viruses that live on and inside the human body. So yeah, we have parasites living within us and they're not doing any harm. And we have thousands of viruses living in our body. And that's part of the coding and detection. They live symbiotically and they cause no harm. So the number of genes in all the microbes, so every microbe has genetics as well, so they can be expressed. A person's microbiome is 200 times the number of genes in the human genome. So we are 10 times more genetic material from these microbiomes than we are of ourselves. So when people say, well, I have the gene of diabetes, my parents had it, whatever, it isn't until you allow it to be expressed that it becomes part of your concern. If you do the things that keep that protection over that gene, you will never experience diabetes. But if you do all the things that are supportive for getting diabetes, you're going to get diabetes. Your risk factor is higher than a person who doesn't have that genetic makeup. But what I'm here to tell you is that there is a whole lot of microbes that could be benefiting you if you treat them correctly. So let's look at microbiome as part of the innate. So as I said, the human microbiota, you can have all of these expressions. You could be predisposed to obesity or metabolic syndrome or atherosclerosis, diabetes, emerging infectious diseases, irritable bowel disease, liver disease. It isn't until you decide to unwrap that gene and it gets expressed. So in the gut, there is a one-cell thick layer barrier that protects against harmful microbes entering the bloodstream by way of the small intestine. Now, you can look at other classes in that. I have an hour and a half class strictly on the microbiome that I did like in the fall of last year. And that's on my website, bornforhealth.com. If you're interested in pulling that information up and watching or listening, it's only on audio, that to that lecture. But it behooves you to do some research. There is information for a while out there. You can look on Mercola.com. You can look at greenmedinfo.com. There is so many references. And if you'd like more, you can email me at drmary@bornforhealth.com, and I will help you find the research that you want answers to. If the inflammatory protein is not discovered and the gut wall is permeable, so that means you have done something to open up the gap in the intestinal wall and you've allowed that microbe free entrance into the bloodstream, then you will have another line of defense that is going to go into action. So it can appear as a myriad of conditions depending on host vulnerability. So this same microbe can affect wherever you have a weakness. So that's what they're saying about this COVID, that people are expressing different symptoms like toe inflammation, and it's this particular thing. Well, MRSA does the same thing. MRSA attacks the tissue, and there is no antibiotic for MRSA. It's a resistant bacteria, and there are really no really effective antivirals out there. The best thing to do is to ramp up your own immune system. One of the ways you can do that is to make sure that you have enough enzymes. So when you bypass the mucous membranes, the skin, then the mucous membranes, and you gets into what's called the digestive system. It has to go there before it passes through the gut wall. If you have enough enzymes, remember the pH factor is that the pH of the stomach is 3.2 when you're digesting. And so if it's at that level, it will kill any enzymes. The problem is that most Americans have very poor enzyme production. We lose our enzyme production about the age of 30, 35. We stop producing really healthy enzymes. And I feel that everybody past the age of 30 should be on some kind of an enzyme. And if you are a meat eater, you may need to have betaine hydrochloride. If you're a vegetarian, you don't use up your that pH level as much, because most veggies don't require a low pH to digest. They need particular enzymes to produce that. But hydrochloric acid must be present in the stomach to discourage these microbes from entering into the gut wall. So I personally take food enzymes and a Proactozyme. I'll take the food enzymes with my meals, and sometimes I'll take Proactozyme. If I feel that I have a lot of congestion going on, I don't think of myself as being an allergy type person, but this particular year has been awful for people with allergies, and I've noticed my mucus collecting more problematic and thickening. So I've been using Proactozyme in between meals to help break down these um, microbes that thicken the mucus. So when you break down the protein barrier of the microbe, it exposes it to the macrophages and other immune chemicals that will get rid of it and support your better health. So let's look at how can I support the skin and mucus. So the skin needs you to consume omega fats. That's one of the ways that helps to promote that healthy barrier. You know, a lot of people complain about dry skin. Well, wash your hands 20 times a day and you definitely will have dry skin. So taking an omega oil helps to lubricate from the inside out. So it's not a matter of constantly putting lotion on your hands. It's a matter of making sure that you have consumed good oils. And you know, no matter how dedicated you are, you're not going to eat salmon every day. So water, I've talked about that. The formula for water is usually if you take your body weight and divide it in half, that's the amount of water. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you should drink 75 ounces of water every single day. And fresh air, we need that oxygen. Proper cleansing, not overuse of cleansing, not sanitizing with bleach and consuming the smell of bleach is very, very harmful. So you can use essential oils. Almost every essential oil has some component where it will kill microbes. So natural ingredients like aloe, you can use aloe gel on your skin. You can use aloe juice for the skin inside. And you want to have a healthy attitude about life. You know, all this depressing news and that, shut the news off. You know, get rid of it. The mucous membranes need water, good nutrition, stay away from allergic foods and pollen. It needs good digestion. You need to keep moving. Some extra helpers, do dry skin brushing. You can Google how to do that properly. Take some digestive enzymes with every meal to help break down the nutrients. And when you break down nutrients, it doesn't create a problem with that one cell skin thick barrier that protects the intestines. And I love Silver Shield. Silver Shield doesn't affect the good bacteria. It does kill off bad bacteria. And I also use Silver Shield on the inside when I feel like I've been out in the public and I feel like a little bit more challenged. I will take a tablespoon twice a day, and usually the next day I'm feeling fine. So it's a wonderful adjunct to supporting your immune system. So now if you attend next week, we're going to learn about the second line of defense. What is the difference between innate and adaptive immune? And how does the gut enter into the immune defense? And how do vaccines work? And are they effective and safe? So I want to thank you for being part of this class. And I hope that you've learned some things, some takeaways on how you can protect your body and become healthier, because we do not need to be afraid. This flu, the statistics are showing it is not like a pandemic. It is not like 1918 relived. It is not the same as the Spanish flu. It is definitely something that 98% of us will recover from. It is ridiculous to sequester ourselves. And it is ridiculous to say that life cannot be as it used to be. It is ridiculous to buy into the fact that we can't hug our children, our handshakes. We have an immune system. And if we protect it with the things that I've taught today, then you can be sure that you can be confident that you are doing well. We can all go back to work and resume normal activities. It is important that we all do this. I feel that taking vitamin D3 is really, really important. Why do you think that this flu goes away in the summer? We all get more vitamin D. So thank you for observing this presentation and sharing this with others. I am Dr. Mary for the health of it and look forward to seeing you again.